A brass pendulum swung slow beneath the antique mantel clock in the Halcyon Terrace gallery, metronomic under the last copper light through the sloped skylight. In the back office, Felix Warre set his tea on an open ledger, heard the service door tick, saw a sleeved arm rise across the wall. Knox and Lean stepped beneath the gallery's slanted eave. The floor-to-ceiling north window held the bay gone flat blue. Uniforms kept Dane Orr near the buzzer. Behind him, the antique mantel clock read 2018, and Knox's glance caught the clock face before it found the body. At the Ashvale morgue, Dr. Iona Hale pulled the drawer under cold blue light, field jacket over pale scrubs, nitrile gloves still on. She lowered her wire rims a half-inch and named the window, 1910 to 1925. Strike to the left parietal. Speculation, she told Knox, was his job. In the back office, directly beneath the sloped skylight's rear pane, Felix Warre slumped against the iron radiator, one hand curled around a phone that was not there. A glass of black tea sat cold on the ledger. The first officer on scene had noted it faintly warm on arrival. Knox thumbed through Felix's gallery ledger beneath the back office lamp. 9 clean months of commission entries. And then on the final page, 3 Nordic collector sales with reconciled 18% gaps routed to a routing number he did not recognize. He slid the ledger into an evidence sleeve. On the gallery steps, a woman in a forest green wool coat waited, Hos'id F. press badge clipped to the lapel, leather notebook open against her palm. Mara Quinn of the Ashvale Courier asked whether the Terrace's gallery owner's death was being treated as suspicious. Lean answered nothing and closed the door. In the front lobby, Dane Orr walked Knox through his evening. He buzzed at 1947 by the mantel clock above him, saw Felix's shape in the back office doorway, watched a shadow slide along the wall, and left. He tapped his yellow carbon copy slip, 1947 in pencil, time-stamped. Knox stepped closer to the mantel clock. He turned his watch face out on his left wrist, 2024. The mantel clock read 2036, 12 minutes fast. He tapped his forefinger against his thumb, once, twice, a third time. Lean wrote the delta into her notebook without comment. Inez Pell waited in the members' lounge, tall, composed, a charcoal scarf knotted tight. She placed herself at Marcus Lai's frame shop 2 blocks east from 1900 to 2000 reviewing stretcher frames. She offered Lai's signed receipt. Knox repeated her last 3 words back, flat. Her eyes did not move. Cressida Vane sat on a paint-spattered studio stool, hands still covered in burnt sienna. She confirmed she was at Lai's from 6:30 to 7:30 reviewing frame rails. She handed Knox a delay clause Felix had tried to add to her contract 2 weeks earlier coldly. Marcus Lai stood in his own back room beside a stack of poplar stretchers, his apprentice on a stool at the edge of the room. Cressida had been with him 6:30 to 7:30. Inez had arrived near 7:15 and left around 7:40. Knox walked the gallery's front room alone after hours. He stood exactly where Dane Orr had stood and looked up through the sloped skylight. A copper wedge of light fell clean down the lobby wall, lit from above by a low angle only possible in the final minutes of sundown. A lamp would have thrown the shadow flat across the floor, not down the wall. On the gallery roof, Knox crouched at the skylight's outer edge. A fold of black tarpaulin lay bunched behind a vent housing, heavier than a stage curtain. 4 corner grommets, sized to match 4 hooks, screwed into the roofline under the eave. The hem still smelled faintly of fresh wax polish. At the back office doorway, a torn studio glove lay behind the radiator, one finger ripped. The brand label Cressida favored, the burnt sienna stain fully dry, and crackled at the seam. Lean bagged it. On the wall above them, the framed delay clause with Felix's initials hung crooked. Evidence locker, Ashvale PD basement. Rook Cho in a Navy Department polo and black latex gloves logged the tarp the ledger, a bagged sliver of sloped skylight glass, and Dane Orr's carbon copy ticket. He scanned each item onto the custody tablet without looking up, and turned away mid-sentence to the next shelf. At his apartment desk, Knox pinned 3 photographs to the corkboard in a row. The mantel clock face, the front lobby wall where the shadow had fallen, the sloped skylight from the roof. He turned his watch face in on his left wrist and stared until the room went dark. Cressida Vane, re-interviewed on the gallery steps late in the morning. She confirmed the torn glove as hers, left behind the radiator the Friday before during a hanging. She had not been inside the back office since Monday. The studio apprentice countersigned her sign-in both days. Outside the precinct, Mara Quinn leaned against a lamppost, uniball pen in hand, leather notebook open. She told Lean that Marcus Lai's framing apprentice had stepped out for a smoke just after 7:15 and watched a black tarp folded down from the gallery's skylight ridge, carried inside by a woman in a charcoal scarf. Knox and lean on the gallery roof a second time. He traced the 4 hook points under the eave with a gloved fingertip and counted them against the 4 grommets on the tarp. Unfurled, the black cloth would drape across the skylight's interior face, turning the slope of glass into a dark mirror. The pendulum swings. The minute hand does not. Knox spread the Ashvale Harbor meteorological log flat across Lane's desk beside a printed photograph of the lobby wall. Sundown at 1915. Civil twilight ending at 1942. Clear sky over the terrace's ridge. He overlaid a protractor. The shadow's angle was low and copper-lit, not lamp only. He tapped his thumb. Minutes don't lie, people do. At the bullpen whiteboard, Knox drew a sun-angle vector, the gallery floor plan, and 3 concentric time rings, 1910, 1915, 1947. Lean drew a line from the mantel clock photograph to the carbon copy slip. The 12-minute drift became a visible wedge between what the driver remembered and what the sky had been doing. Knox walked Lean through the ore window at the board. Dane had buzzed at what his pocket watch would have called 1935, read the mantel clock as 1947, and seen a shadow lit from above by copper light. Copper light in Ashvale in November ended at 1915. Lean wrote it down and said the quiet part aloud. The silhouette was already dead. At the board, Knox ruled them out. Cressida, at Lay's from 6:30 to 7:30 with the apprentice countersigning. Sienna glove dated to the prior week. Marcus, in his own shop with the apprentice through the window. Dane Orr on the dispatch route log with 3 prior timestamps across the terraces. Then the narrowing. At dusk, Knox returned to the gallery roof with the tarp back in his gloved hand. He hooked it under the eave against the skylight's interior side, climbed down, and stepped into the front lobby. The slope of glass turned into a dark mirror. A lamp left burning in the back office threw a standing shape across the lobby wall. Knox laid the overlay panel on the gallery's polished central plinth in front of Inez Pell and 1 uniform. He named them in order: the sun angle vector, the harbor log at 1915, the mantel clock's 12-minute drift, Dane's carbon copy slip at 1947, 1947, the tarp under the skylight, the 18% ledger skim, 1 9-minute window at the back office doorway. Inez alone. In the interview room, under fluorescent overhead, Inez Pell sat across from Knox, the charcoal scarf still knotted. He slid the overlay panel across the table. Under 1947, the shadow dropped into the wrong quadrant. Under 1915, it landed exactly where Dane had said. She exhaled through her nose. She told it quietly, almost relieved. The 18%. The Nordic collector. The morning meeting with Felix's lawyers she would not have survived. She had unscrewed the tarp hooks a week earlier and left the fold behind the vent. She did not think the clock on the wall would remember the difference. Knox on the gallery rooftop after the cruisers had gone. Bay wind. Low street lamp. He held a small brass pendulum weight taken from the mantel clock, turned it once in his palm, and watched the street lamp catch on the polished face. He turned his watch face in on his left wrist and walked to the stairs.